What's up, sporting connoisseurs? Today we have another episode of the MLB Stadium Battles series. We are still in round one, and in today's episode, we have Globe Life Field of the Texas Rangers facing off against Great American Ballpark of the Cincinnati Reds. This is definitely an interesting matchup. We got the newest stadium in the MLB in Globe Life Field against a 2000s era stadium in Great American Ballpark. So let's get right into this matchup, starting off with some quick facts about each stadium. For Globe Life Field, it has a capacity of 40,300, is located in Arlington, Texas, right next to AT&T Stadium and the old Globe Life Park that they moved out of. It was opened in 2020 and cost 1.1 billion US dollars. Definitely a serious construction there, and it is kind of a sad story how they had to move out of the old Globe Life Park. I believe it's now called Choctaw Stadium, and maybe I will cover that in a future video. But now for Great American Ballpark, it has a capacity of 43,500. It is located, of course, in Cincinnati, Ohio, right by the Ohio River, and it replaced the old Riverfront Stadium, which was one of those multi-purpose donut stadiums that quickly became obsolete. It was opened in 2003 alongside a bunch of other stadiums, and it cost 290 million US dollars to construct. In 2023 dollars, that would be around 500 million. So starting with the outfield of these two stadiums, at Globe Life Field, it's definitely an interesting looking outfield. I really like this design. Those left field upper deck boxes just look really cool. I like how they're separated by those brick pillars. That's definitely a unique design in the MLB. It is kind of similar to the Houston Astros, but you can tell that it is different, so I don't think they really mind. You got the two bullpens located in right center and left center field. Those are pretty good locations for them. You got the crowd overlooking the bullpens, which is also a bonus. In terms of the batter's eye, I really do like this kind of design. They kind of treated it as sort of a platform for seats going above it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it does look like a green box, but I think having those seating sections above it does kind of make up for it not being as interesting. And then you got the right field section, which is kind of a copy of the old Globe Life Park. Of course, it doesn't have that really nice overhang, but it's still a good two-tiered, I guess three-tiered section over there in right field. A lot of seats to increase the capacity as well. And then you got that big scoreboard just below the roof section. I think that's really nice. You have two pretty big scoreboards in the stadium, so definitely a lot of entertainment opportunities here. And in terms of the home run wall, it's pretty well connected throughout the outfield, except for the batter's eye section. But yeah, in general, nothing really wrong with it. It's not disconnected from the stands, which is definitely a good thing. We've seen a lot of stadiums that have pretty bad home run wall. So at Great American Ballpark, I do think its outfield brings it up by a lot. I think this is one of the best designed outfields in the majors. I honestly think they've done a lot of things right here. You got minimal seating. Minimal seating is just generally a good idea for the outfield. People are not going to want to sit so far away from the field when you're already in the outfield and not close to the pitcher, not close to the hitter. So you definitely don't want a lot of seats, and the Reds have done a good job in this regard. First off, I want to talk about that scoreboard. It is pretty huge. I really like it a lot. It's on top of a nice double section of seats in left field. That is pretty good. And then you got that analog clock on top of that. I just think it looks pretty cool with the Great American advertising as well. I really like that scoreboard design as well. And then in the center field batter's eye, you have sort of a green patch. I do like that green patch design a lot. And then on top of the camera well, you do have a boat bar kind of thing with standing room seats. I really like that design as well. It's a nice area for fans to congregate. And then you got those smoke stacks, which will light up and go off for those home runs. I do like that. any kind of feature that's interesting or cool, when a home run's hit or something like that, I'm going to appreciate it. And then the outfield is capped off by that smaller section in right field, which is pretty standard, not much to say about that. And then for the home run wall, I think it's pretty connected. I think it's connected all the way around the stadium, which is really nice. Fans can go up and catch those home runs, which is a really good feature in the outfield. I just think overall, the entire design of the outfield really makes Great American Ballpark a nice stadium to look at in general. The views are going to be really nice, especially from the upper deck. So yeah, with the outfield, it really elevates my score here. Now, in terms of the dimensions, let's start with Globe Life Field. It does have a deep left center field section and a deep right center field section, but I think that is kind of offset by the kind of shallow center field. And now for Cincinnati, and this is definitely known as one of the most hitter-friendly ballparks in the MLB. You got pretty short distances down the lines at 328 and 325. But what makes it short are the right center field and left center field sections. It kind of does look like it's squared off. There isn't much of a circular arc to the dimensions, and it does have quite a short center field as well. So this is a ballpark where lots of home runs are hit. So we've covered the outfield now. Let's move on to the infield. And here at Globe Life Field, the infield is done in such a modern and almost perfect way, in my opinion. Of course, this is the newest MLB stadium, and it shows just by how many sections there are in the infield. You can see all the small little boxes that represent all the sections in the infield. And basically why new stadiums have this design is because it allows the fans, A, to have more space in their seats, so more leg room, more seat width, but it also makes a better, more intimate atmosphere when you're actually sitting at the ballpark. And also, in my opinion, it does look a little bit nicer than just having just straight continuous rows. It's better to have these smaller kind of outline sections. But at Globe Life Field, you could definitely tell all of these sections are well pointed towards home plate as much as possible. I also really like the seating design. I like that kind of darker green color. I just think that's one of the best seating colors at stadiums. Definitely a modern look right there. At Globe Life Field, I'm a big fan of this upper deck. It kind of has a split kind of style. You can either sit in the upper section or the lower section. I think that looks really good. And I like how there's a promenade in between these two sections. Just overall, they've done such a nice job separating the sections here at Globe Life Field. And there's a lot of premium and VIP sections as well. You have the club level and the suite level, which do look really nice. And on the field level, you do have a lot of seats that are sectioned off and separated into little sections. I really like that a lot. And then, of course, we can't not talk about the seating that is literally inside of the ground behind home plate and kind of around home plate. You could see it pretty prominently when you watch the Rangers on TV, and you literally have a ground level view of the entire game, which isn't for everybody, but I think as a one-time experience, that is pretty cool. But yeah, I think just in general, the Globe Life Field infield and just the interior in general is probably one of the best in the entire majors. Obviously, it's the newest stadium. I think they just did everything right with the upper deck, the middle decks, and the field level deck. I think it all just looks really good. The infield and the outfield together. One of the best, if not the best, interiors in the entire major leagues. Now, for the seating at Great American Ballpark, it is definitely way different from Globe Life Field as it was constructed about 20 years before it, but I think I really do like the red seats. I like how it's kind of a red theme throughout the stadium. That's pretty cool. But compared to Globe Life Field, there's a lot less interesting features about this infield design. It's very plain, it's very basic. It's basically the exact same as many other stadiums. You do have the split upper deck where down the third baseline, basically the upper deck section is completely separate from the rest of the stadium, which isn't that great in my opinion. I think that's just a design flaw in the stadium. I don't know why they would do that. You do have a lot of standing room sections on the second level, which is pretty cool. In terms of the layout behind home plate, it is a little bit different from the rest of the stadium. It has a lot of little sections, and it does look weird on a macro scale, but Nothing really stands out, and some parts are just flat out ugly to me. So, yeah, it's not really the greatest kind of interior, especially right behind home plate. But overall, in terms of the interior, I really like the outfield here at Great American Ballpark, but the infield does detract from their score by a lot. I'm just not a huge fan of the layout. I think the layout is really strange. They kind of constructed it in a weird way. And I do like the red seats, but yeah, just in general, I'm not a huge fan of the interior. I do want to take this time to talk about the roof at Globe Life Field. I think from the interior, the roof really accentuates the aesthetics of Globe Life Field. It all works, it all fits in together. There's a little bit of natural light that can come through due to those tinted windows, but the roof is just kind of black. And simply in Cincinnati, they don't really need a roof, so that's not really an issue for them. Now, moving on to the exterior of these two stadiums, I think it's pretty obvious which one has the better exterior, but we're going to start with Globe Life Field now. And I guess first off, let's talk about this huge roof they have. It's kind of like a frying pan design. And yeah, it's not the most aesthetic design for a retractable roof. It's kind of simply just a cover up. The exterior of the roof doesn't really look that good, but either way, it does just serve one purpose, and that is to shield the fans from the sun. So if it does that, it does a pretty good job. In terms of the facade of the stadium, it is pretty nice with those columns. And yeah, they do make for a nice facade with the black tinted glass, but I feel like they could have done a better design, kind of like Citi Field. If you look at Citi Field, how it kind of looks like an older style of building, and this one just looks kind of like a recreation center with a little bit extra. I just feel like for such a huge venue, for an indoor retractable roof stadium, they could have made the exterior a lot more flashy. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does get the job done. It's nice, it's modern, pretty good entrances. Again, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing too special about the exterior here at Globe Life Field. And for Great American Ballpark's exterior, it really isn't a good exterior facade. Not even just the facade itself, kind of the entrances, but just generally its location around the stadium. It's not really the best location. You got the arena right beside it, and that's not usually a good thing to have an arena right beside the ballpark. It just doesn't really make sense. You got a lot of streets literally lining the ballpark, so not a lot of space for pedestrian traffic. Its location on the waterfront is pretty good, but it doesn't really add to much because the entrances here at Great American Ballpark are very underwhelming. Some weird glass paneling on the second level at the main entrance. The ground level's alright. You got some pedestrian walkways, some interesting features there. But then you look up kind of at the upper deck, and it's completely exposed. I don't really know why they would do that. It just kind of looks ugly. Like, it's obvious they didn't really pay that much attention to the exterior, and that was kind of the style back in the early 2000s. They didn't pay too much attention, and it definitely shows the exterior just looks bare and not finished really. So for Great American Ballpark, this is one of my least favorite exteriors in the MLB, that's for sure. Alright, so now to see which ballpark will move on to the second round. Starting with Globe Life Field, I put the interior at a 9.5 out of 10. Again, this is one of my favorite interiors in the MLB. Super nice, super modern, lots of really good sections. They all work together very well. The layout of the interior is really good. The views are really good. Even though it is a retractable roof, it is one of the better interiors in the MLB. Not a lot of teams can match it. For the exterior, I have it at 7.5 out of 10. Again, kind of above average. Like, it is definitely a nice modern exterior, but still nothing really too fascinating about it. Nothing really catching my eye. So for such a new ballpark, I think I was just expecting a little bit more from the exterior and the facade. And now for Great American Ballpark, for the interior, it's a 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's an above average interior in my opinion. I really like the outfield, but the infield sections kind of just put me off. I don't really love the kind of seating layout, the seating design. And then for the exterior of Great American Ballpark, it's a 4 out of 10 for me. I know it's a really low score. It's definitely not the worst exterior in the league, but I just think the facade of that stadium is just not good at all. I guess the walkways are good, so that's why the score is all right. But yeah, definitely a lower score for the exterior of Great American Ballpark. So judging from the scores, I'm choosing Globe Life Field to move on into the second round, defeating Great American Ballpark. This is one of those matchups where one stadium was definitely better than the other one. And yes, it is probably due to the fact that Globe Life Field is the newest ballpark in MLB. So yes, Globe Life Field moves on to the second round and will face the winner of Busch Stadium versus the Oakland Coliseum. That will be the next episode. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on my channel to see that. If you want to see the last episode of the Stadium Battle series, the Battle of LA, click this video right now. It'll take you to that one. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.